I'm Elle. And I'm Pat, and we are Paddock 43.
And this is your F1 fix.
Are we recording?
In your bed.
He's like, she?
In your bed.
She wants to be part of the
conversation.
The conversation. No, the conversation. I know, look, we're used to two people on the couch, but welcome to the couch. Hayley Conway.
Woo!
I was about to say Hayley Genovesi.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
I respond to both.
I just can't pronounce that.
I'll say the Italian one. You say the English one.
The Irish.
Yeah.
No, it's not Irish.
Well, it's not a traditional Irish.
Yeah.
But it's in English.
My husband is Irish, if anyone's wondering what's going on here.
Anyway, welcome back to the podcast. If you don't know Hayley, Hayley is a wonderful person.
Oh, that's nice.
This chick this random chick we know.
Just this random chick that we know. But she's my business partner with Principal the Label. She is mother hen of Paddock 43 as well. But most of all, she is a freelancer in the motorsport marketing space, but also just sport in general. Mm-hmm. Currently at a certain football house, which I'm not sure we can name, so you can go stalk her to find out where that is.
I'm sure if you follow me on social media, you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
But I'm not going to mention it for legal reasons.
Otherwise, it has to go get approved.
Yes, exactly.
All the international listeners are probably like, football, like real football.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So we're not
she's
gonna
at Melbourne
say it.
Victory, isn't she?
It's the Australian equivalent.
I also finished there in a week, so by the time this
comes out,
out, it's fine.
All right, good.
Usually we start off our episode with a warm-up lap, which is your most embarrassing story. I know last time we did speak about your most embarrassing story. Do you have another one?
I mean, I feel like I probably have heaps. I can't think of one that's like really funny that's F1 related apart from
Doesn't have to be F1
that
related.
Max one when I didn't know who he was and he laughed at me, but YOLO. One of the things I'm like, everyone makes mistakes and I think no one talks about the mistakes that they make. Like, I've made very expensive mistakes in corporate life, like wildly. And I look back, I'm like, how do I still have a job? So, I mean, yeah, I've made a lot of.
Can you tell us one, please?
I mean, one time I'm old, but I ran ads completely wrong in the paper. So they were like double pay. And I think we had like 37 papers booked. And instead of like, it was a car ad actually. And instead of the car being like this, it ran like that. So the car wasn't actually connected in the artwork.
Oh.
And I was like,
Oopsie.
as if the printer didn't see that. That it was wrong.
Hey, with AI today, it probably would.
Yeah, today that wouldn't happen. But
No.
back then, you used to have to like manually type in which side was what the key numbers were. Like nothing was automated. So, I mean, I never did that again. That was pretty funny.
You get in trouble for that?
No, like not trouble, but it was more what is the process now that we need to put in so this doesn't happen again.
The youth these days wouldn't understand.
The youth wouldn't understand. Actually, one time I forwarded an email, a highly confidential email to my friend, and I got an alert. That was pretty embarrassing. I didn't realise it was a big deal at the time.
Oh, that's great.
Careful who you email.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, one time I called a client an idiot on email as well and sent it back to them. Oh my God, all of these.
I know, I've done that. I did that when I went to Country
these,
Road
like,
Group.
I think they're like trauma and I've locked them away, now they're all coming back to me. I was like, oh yeah.
All right, before you have a PTSD breakdown, we need to get into it. If you haven't listened, this time last year, exactly 1 year ago, Hayley jumped on our podcast for the very first time.
I really thought it was longer than that, but wow, it's been a year.
It's been a year, yeah.
Actually, yes, because it was right before Silverstone.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was just before Monaco as well.
Yeah.
Hayley came on and to discuss her career in motorsports, and every single day she gets 1,000,001 questions on Instagram of how she got her job, how to get her job, how can people help her.
They just want to be her,
They-
basically.
No,
Exactly.
they most definitely don't. Everyone just wants to work in F1.
Everyone wants to be the hospitality bitch.
There
For those that didn't know, that was a
Hospitality twat.
hospitality twat was a lovely dig that Hayley got, and she was like,
Honestly?
I'm actually, it's quite nice.
I was like, I'm stoked to be the hospitality twat because I never get to go in hospitality. I'm normally working.
Oh, you're in there, but you're in there with like the headset.
trenches or in like a beautiful polo, been awake since 5 a.m, not allowed to drink, wearing accreditation. So I was like,
5 years.
So she's owning
what
it.
a compliment.
And also,
It's like your persona now. I am the hospitality
Yeah,
director.
I'm actually going to make it a whole, like, my whole new TikTok personality.
The hospitality
Yeah.
twat.
Yeah.
Hayley also got to work at the Olympics last year, which was a
Yeah,
pretty
that
big
was
deal.
sick.
Hayley, can you just explain what you did at the Olympics? Because you were based in Paris for a while, and you also then got asked back because you did such an amazing job to be in the Paralympics. Not be in the Paralympics, but work for the Paralympics. Please explain to people what you did.
Besides
Besides eat everything and croissants
No,
for
I
breakfast.
was like loving the food diaries the most.
so was I. Well, okay, long story short, I feel like, oh my gosh, so much has happened in that 12 months since we first met
we laughed.
in real life.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think everybody thinks that we've known each other for like forever.
That is true, but no, that's not the case.
No.
I found you on Instagram.
Begged me to come on the podcast, and now we have a business together. So that's kind of wild, and now we speak literally 50 trillion times a day. Love that for you.
You did ask me to do something this morning. I haven't done it yet.
But anyway. Well, you haven't checked your emails because I've already sent it without your input. But anyway. The Olympics, oh my gosh. So I was working for an agency called Sport 5. So they're a global agency and they do a lot in the Olympic space. And the Olympics was not on my radar, like at all. I think when we were on that podcast, it was sort of like I was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing for the Euro summer. And it was kind of this weird...
Because she goes around, she's off to Europe soon.
Yes.
To work at Silverstone
Yeah.
and then see what happens and whatever events, and Goodwood and whatnot. So yeah, keep
I
going.
mean, the
Sorry.
nature of being freelance is... I should preface, actually, if you're listening to this on how to be an engineer in F1 or motorsport or something, no, I'm not the one. I'm not talking
You just
about...
say just go to uni and
super
study.
smart
Oh, I was going to
engineering.
say you can revert back to the Kate Reid episode and
Yes,
she'll put
listen
it
to Kate
nicely.
Reid because she's super intelligent. I know marketing and events. So this is what this podcast is about. But obviously the events follow the summer. So the nature of that means I work in Australia at the start of the first quarter of the year, then go to Europe for the summer and then come back for our summer because that's where the events are. Obviously,
It's a tough life following summer.
the events in
Ew, sun.
Europe last year were massive. Olympics, the World Cup, and
Paralympics.
lots of F1s on as well. So
And Wimbledon was on at the same time as well.
Wimbledon is always on the same time as F1 weekend, which honestly sorted out. Like, can they not put a
Work
week
together.
in between?
Yeah.
Or anyway, I had a friend reach out and said, "Hey, there's this role going with this agency called Sport 5 on the Olympics. Blah blah blah. Are you interested?" And I was like, nah, not really. Like, I'm doing the F1 thing, having fun. And then hung up and I was like, what am I doing? Practice what you preach, Hayley. Like, always go for the coffee, always
Yes.
have the interview. So I had the interview and I was like, I want this
It's the
now.
Olympics, as if
This
you're
is
not
the
going to do it.
Olympics, It's in Paris.
And it's in Paris, yeah.
This is a once in a lifetime. And as with all, I feel like contracts, you have those interviews and then it just goes silent. Silent. And you hear nothing. I was like, okay, this is looking really grim.
Not meant to be.
Not meant to be. That's okay. And then so I just did my reach out for the other tracks and what I was doing for the summer. I don't know what was happening from full moon or something. I woke up, I remember it was Thursday morning. I opened my Gmail and I was like, oh my God, all of these contracts that I had hustled hoping to get just one of them had all said yes and I was in. And I was like, oh my God. Ugh. How am I going to do this? I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. I was like, here we go. And just had this probably the biggest summer of my
Your life.
career to date. Yeah, it was wild. British Grand Prix, Festival of Speed, Paris Olympics, Dutch Grand Prix, Paralympics.
Oh, because that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
you did the Dutch Grand Prix in between the Olympics and
yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I remember that.
had no days off, which is okay when you're doing stuff like that, but the crash was very real. But I was doing more of a partnership type role for the Olympics, so working on a French company's sponsorship of the Olympics.
What company was it?
I'm actually not really allowed to say, but
Okay.
so I was over in Paris delivering a partnership, which was probably the bougiest partnership I've ever worked on. So there were a lot of amazing moments that happened. I mean, our office for one was in the Sofitel in the
good.
8th in Opera, and it had these like insane. I actually thought I was in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Like every morning I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be in the Oval Office. That's what it felt like. And you get like croissant deliveries like 3 times a day.
Oh, that's
They
right.
did
You're
our
getting
laundry
your
as well.
underwear pressed.
Oh my god, the laundry. Oh my gosh.
I mean,
You
if
get your
that's
underwear pressed.
if that's
Let's
one
go
reason that you want Hayley's job, then yes, you're in the right spot.
honestly, that was probably the highlight, was the laundry. I'm going to put a link here, like go watch this TikTok, because they actually, you know, when you put anything in dry cleaning, you never put your socks in, but it was just like they took all of your laundry and then it came back, like even the socks were pinned together so they wouldn't lose them.
So good.
And then they were folded up in paper in a box, like your dry cleaning had just come back from Hermes or something. Like,
It's like a present.
it was a present.
A present.
So yeah, huge.
Good way to give life back to old clothes, side note.
Yeah, true.
You'd be like, I'm actually not sick of this skirt anymore.
Well, it was mainly uniform, so I was
Not sick of this uniform.
was sick of uniform in bright purple.
It's safe to say that you have been living your best sporting career life.
Yeah, by mistake. I don't know how this happened.
But then,
I
okay.
think we know how it happened. I mean, you work hard
Yeah.
and you're excellent at what you do. And you hustle as well. And that's why so many people are constantly reaching out to you. And that's why we wanted to have you on the podcast today, because we thought people ask you, let's give this a platform to ask you those questions, what you always get asked, and you can
Sure.
answer them all here right now for everyone to listen.
I'm going to come in with some hard wisdom, truths. I mean, I feel like any advice I give is probably is not what your parents are going to tell you.
It's hard. Hayley's advice is hard. She scares me. Like, I had to tell her recently to start messaging me differently because her messages to me were too scary. She would send me messages like emails, like we don't know each other, like, hello, please do this and make sure you action this point. And I was like, can you please start the message with like, hey, Gorge, like, have
She's
a good
clearly
day.
not a Gen Z.
No.
But I'm not Gen Z either. So yeah, I had to tell her to like, you know, up the tone because she tells it how it is.
It's how it is. I was like, I've spoken to you 6 times today. This is what I need you to do. I don't need to be...
It still scares me.
I mean, you wouldn't be the
Amount of
first
times I was
person
like,
to say
I'm
that.
scared. Can you please reply to Hayley? Yes, I will.
I mean, it's the difference between getting stuff done on time or not on time.
Look, it's effective.
It's
You know?
effective, yeah.
It's effective. Everyone has their different
direct
ways.
but fair. Anyone that has worked with me will say the same thing.
All right.
Slash can be scary.
Let's get into these questions then, because
All right.
there's going to be a lot, and I feel like you're going to be
Oh my
direct.
gosh, okay.
Yeah.
We got to rewind to the start. Hayley, what did you study in university?
Well, because I'm super old and ancient, I studied comms, PR, and it was the biggest waste of time.
Look, I studied comms PR, and the only thing I took out from that degree was media law. And that was just one
I
subject.
didn't even have media law as a
That would
subject.
be a handy one.
Yeah, I just thought, and we just discussed defamation a lot. So
Which
that
is
was handy. But everything
very big
else,
topic
you
in
learn on the
Australia.
job. Things change too much.
Yeah. I mean, that is probably something I always say to people, and that's like unpopular opinion. I'm like, if you want to work in PR, marketing, I mean, sure, go to uni if you're still not sure that's what you want to do. But my best advice is go get an internship, then figure out whether you like it. Like what you're going to learn on the job is already years ahead of what you're going to learn in uni, and that's your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I also think it can be financially better for you as well,
my God,
because you
yes.
could get a coordinator role or an assistant role be on a very basic salary of like,
Yeah.
it could be like 50 to 65k annually Australian dollars, and that gets you in the foot of the door and you already have a year's experience.
Yeah.
But that whole year that you just earn that money, that could be a whole degree that you're paying HEX university in, and then you've got to pay interest on that, and it's so I think it's a great way to learn.
Especially like at that, I mean, typically when you're fresh out of uni, a lot of the time people are still living with their parents or in a situation where like you go from school into a job and suddenly you earn money. Like you're like, wow, 50k. Look at me.
Yeah, it's a great time then to save some money as well.
Yeah,
for the future.
if you are in that position.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I feel quite passionate about that, and I I always say that to people. I'm like, please just go get an internship or just, if you're at uni, try and get work experience while you're in uni. So at least you're not coming out of uni with no experience.
Especially, I think, because, you know, so many people in Australia will go and get like a hospitality job or just like a retail job. But like you can easily be at uni and go get a job in like admin or receptionist at any organisation and then get exposure to so much within that business.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, actually, I'm not interested in that. But what Margaret's doing over there in, you know, finance, that interests me. Or like, hey, look at... Hello, Merlin. Look at Merlin in marketing. Like, that's really interesting. And you get more of an understanding of how the business works.
And I definitely wouldn't discredit hospo jobs. And I think
No.
in Australia we sometimes do because we go, oh, it's just a hospo job, it's just a uni job. But hospo in events is so massive.
Yeah, it's one of the main pinnacles of events, and making a great event is knowing that there's good hospitality.
Good hospitality, like even if you start as a host, like on a suite, you could be on a really important suite at the AusGP on your uni holidays, and you could meet
The right people.
or one person that is going to then introduce you to someone that you get your opportunity from. So definitely do not discredit hospitality. And if you can get a job, a summer job, a casual job at a major event in hospo, that's your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I think also to that point, to not discredit hospitality, hospitality doesn't just mean serving food. No. That could mean, you know, you working for a company that does, yes, you might be serving food and whatever it is, or drinks, but that could lead to a partnership because you might have an idea being young and fresh and think, hey, why don't we try and work with this organisation or this event?
Yeah.
And that just leads to so many different communicational and marketing opportunities. So definitely don't discredit it.
Definitely.
So you've said a few times online that you changed your career late in life. Were you nervous when you did this? And what stemmed the career change as well?
And what were you doing before that as well?
So I was working in big corporate, still in the same field, doing marketing, events, sponsorships, and working in sport. So I think it was kind of coming off COVID here in Melbourne. Obviously, we'd been locked down for 2 years. And what I really loved about my job was being on site and meeting people and just the energy around big events and not having that. I was like, oh my gosh, like, do I actually like the work? And it really made me think about, okay,
Reflect.
maybe this isn't what I want. And I'd always I think we all grew up going, okay, when I earn this much money and my title is this and I've worked for X, Y, and Z household brands, I'm going to be really happy. And that's what success looks like. And I kind of got there and I was so unhappy. And I think
As old as times.
Yeah, like convinced myself like, oh, it's just this company and I don't like their culture. If I go here, it's going to be different. But so, yeah, I think you always, when you're in corporate jobs, especially before COVID, I think it was different. Like you always had to work, I felt, for a big brand to be taken seriously, or that's what success was. But I think the shift since COVID has been for the better, that you do see the rise in, you know, content creators that start businesses, they're content creators full time. Like you don't have to work for a big business to make money now. And I think that has been a really great shift post-COVID. And I just felt, I was like, you know what, every full-time job I go into, I last about 18 months, 2 years, and then I'm bored. And I was like, why am I doing this?
It's like preaching to the choir on this couch.
I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Like, anyway, I actually booked a session and went and saw like a careers coach, because one of the things I find working in marketing and sport and big events, not many people actually understand it. So you can ask your friends, and a lot of my friends are teachers and doctors, and they actually look at my life, including my parents and my family, like, I don't actually know what you do. So it's hard to get advice from people that don't understand it. So I was like, I'm just going to go see this. And I think I knew that I wanted to do it, but I needed someone else to be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And she was great, and she just sort of said to me, you know, I meet so many people like you. You have a very low risk tolerance. Like you're fine to take risks. Not many people can do that. So take the risk and just see what happens. And then when she said that, I was like, I mean, what's going to happen? Worst case, I apply and get a full-time job if it doesn't work. Like that was the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
There would be a few months maybe that I didn't have an income. That was the worst case scenario. And so I sort of just quit my job literally the next day and
and now look where she is.
Look where she is. Yep. I did want to just interject quickly because obviously we do have a lot of listeners at different stages of their life as well. It's not a shit on the corporate world because obviously there are people that thrive in those environments 100%. Where they love climbing the corporate ladder and love being in those big corporate environments where you're in like a silo almost in your in your part of the business. But there's people like the three of us on this couch that have been there and then have also made that jump as well. And
it's also important to note as well that in motorsport, what Hayley does is very contract and freelance based and all the sporting codes that you work for. But there is a lot of corporate elements. If that's what you thrive off and you love being in it full time, yeah, for sure. There are corporate elements in that space as well. All the brands that work with it, Formula One, the media teams, there's a lot going on. Yeah.
But the thing as well that you said about risk is for someone that doesn't want to take risks, that you're probably really suited to a corporate world because you've got your salary secured, you've got certain things in place that creates a safe or a non-risky environment. There's people that thrive in that sort of environment.
And I don't think I would have been able to go freelance had I not done 15 years in big business. Yeah. Like I started in media agencies working on big corporate brands, then I went in-house working for those brands, and all of that I learnt along the way, I could hand on heart know that if I got a contract I could do it. So none of the contracts.
Sorry, we just had a quick little intermission because some Porsche Sonali coffee just arrived at the door.
Gonna make us go vroom, vroom.
Can I please take that overseas because I'm really dreading coffee in Europe.
Tom will kill you for taking it, but so will Pat as well.
Can you please also send me
it's Pat's coffee when she comes here. We make her a fresh brew.
Yeah, I always make me a little espressos.
All right, moving on. What is the best way for a teenager to get into F1 media?
I mean, I think we've sort of touched on it, right? Like go get work experience in whether that be you go work an F1 event and get a job helping in the press centre, setting up the room. Like at least you're in there meeting people. I think a lot of universities as well, if you are at uni, do offer a lot of work experience. I just came off an event with Girls on Track and there are a lot of girls doing
I think we have a question about Girls on Track.
Oh.
Well, we'll get to that in a bit, but what else?
I mean, I think just comes back, I think you just need to get out there and start meeting people. And like we were saying before, it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to go get a job straight away doing that. But what are the steps that you need to take that are going to get you there?
If you are a teenager listening to this, or maybe you're someone that wants to work in specifically motorsports, I actually saw what someone was promoting that they do and how they got into their career in partnerships. They went down to local go-karting races and other different community events and just reached out to different teams and different people and said, hey, can I help with like any of the partnersip, getting people on board or some of your advertising and marketing?
Are going to say no. Not one. Like,
and it was all work experience, but...
Like they are like your like other categories, your local racetracks are begging for people to come and help, whether that be writing press releases, getting sponsors, doing social media. Like they desperately need help.
It's a great way to build up your folio and meet potentially the future generation.
100%. And that's what I say to people. I'm like, there is no way you're going to walk out of uni and get a job in F1. Like, what are you doing in the other categories at your local racetrack to get the experience to then when you go to apply for a job, you have experience on the racetrack? Because to get experience straight away just in F1 is not going to happen. For me, it came from the other side. I worked in sponsorships, working with these major sporting organisations that I then made the connections for a few years down the track to be like, hey, remember when we did this and blah, blah, blah.
Remember me?
Like, it's literally that. Like, you're not going to get your job straight away, but you need to do other things and have the building blocks in order for you to get there.
And just have, like, in a way, like a portfolio or your CV, things to show.
Yeah.
And also don't be afraid to do free work, because you're going to have to do some stuff for free to prove yourself.
100%. I mean, I always say yes, even if you're not getting paid, because that experience, one, shows that you're like hardworking and willing to do the work, and you do a good job, then your next job will be paid. So, yeah, you're going to have to do some free work. I don't condone not getting paid, but in the early stages, you're going to have to.
Yeah.
On that topic, I have a question in regards to, well, someone sent in some of the biggest challenges you've faced.
Yeah. I mean, so many. I think for me, initially, it was probably the self-doubt that I didn't have the skills to do what I was doing. Like, I think everybody questions whether they should have that job. And I was like, oh my God, there is no way I can be up against these people that have been working in
imposter
F1.
syndrome, right?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, 100%. And I actually wish I'd done it earlier. But imposter syndrome, the fear of, oh my gosh, I need more experience. But I think now where I am right now, I'm really confident in, if I got a contract that was a marketing contract, I could do it. If I got one that was a partnership specific contract, I've got that experience. And I sort of created I would refer to myself as a generalist.
Yeah.
Like, I am a generalist in that sort of field. But for most people don't know what that means. So I'm like, oh yeah, I do marketing. But I do so much more than just marketing.
Yeah.
So I think upskilling yourself all the time is really important, especially in this environment. Like, it is moving so quickly. So you do really need to sort of stay upskilled and constantly learning. I mean, I love learning because I get bored easily. So I'm like, oh, that's something different. I haven't done that before.
Yeah.
And just keep building.
Well, speaking of upskilling, someone submitted the question, what kind of healthcare roles are there in motorsport?
Oh my gosh.
So you're going to upskill into healthcare now as well?
I do not have the empathy to be a healthcare professional. So congratulations to everyone that works in that field, because you are amazing people. But I mean, all sporting teams are the same. They have physios, they have dietitians, chiropractors, PTs, everything. I mean, the racetracks have first aid. Silverstone has like its own hospital. Like, it has full-time doctors. I need to find out the stat that you can put on the screen here of how many babies have been born on that racetrack.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Oh my God, is that actually a thing?
Yeah.
Well,
babies get born at Silverstone during the race?
Well, I don't know if it's during the exact...
Like during the Oz
Yeah,
GP.
because they
Not
have-
Oz GP, during the
they have,
Silverstone
like,
GP.
People are like, I'm not missing out. I know there's a hospital there. I'll be good. I'm in labour. I can still go.
They have race meets all year. I don't think it's a huge number, but there's definitely been... They've had, like...
Interesting.
Well, I just thought on the topic of that with, paramedics, isn't there like the St. John's in Australia? Is that what they're called? The St. John's Volunteers?
Yeah.
So you could even do that if you're in that space.
Yeah.
I remember as well during OzGP week, we met Jack Doohan's trainer.
Yes,
Physio.
trainer.
Yes. And I asked him, how did you get into this job? And I think he had worked within the industry, then sort of same thing, like kind of made his way up through F4, F3, F2, and started working with Jack.
Yeah.
So you got to start somewhere.
A lot of those drivers' teams have been with them, and they've come up through the ranks with them.
And the drive will take them on.
Yeah.
So how do I increase my chances of getting accepted to Girls on Track? I think also maybe explain what Girls on Track is as well.
Sure. So Girls on Track is basically a mentoring program that's FIA endorsed. So it is here in Australia, the UK. I feel like there's an Irish one as well, but it is...
It's a Scottish one?
Yeah, there is a Scottish one, yeah.
But it's sort of open... It was created for opening pathways for girls that want to get involved in STEM. So here in Australia, it is in partnership with Motorsport Australia, and they run events all over the country. So they don't just do... I feel like this question might be, how do they get the one for OzGP? Because I feel like that's the event everyone wants to go to. But they do events at all different race tracks. Like, I did one last week at Sydney Motorsport Park. They do them supercars, everything. So, I mean, just apply. Apply, put your best foot forward.
Go on their website.
Go on the website, motorsportaustralia.com. There's no shortcut. But, yeah, there's lots of events. So you should, just apply. Keep applying. Don't just apply for one.
So, I mean, I know we've kind of touched on this, but where you started off, and then how did you get into F1? Like someone that's looking at you and saying, I want to do what Hayley did. And it says, how did you get to work in F1? But what were the steps that you took that someone else can take to get into the position that you're in and work at F1?
I think I said it before though. I wasn't 23, no experience going to work in F1.
Actually, if you go back and listen to our first episode with Hayley, she tells about an embarrassing story about her first time working in F1. So that's a good one.
When I didn't know who Max was when I met that one. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh gosh. Now he's your favourite driver.
I had worked at Australian Grand Prix pre-Drive to Survive, so I had good relationships still at AusGP. And
what did you do there?
I was a marketing, maybe a coordinator. I think I was quite young.
Yeah.
And then once I'd left AusGP and I'd gone in-house into sort of partnership roles, I was still working with the team in a partnership capacity. So, working on our sponsorship of the AusGP and what that looks like. So I'd still been in contact with them over the years and worked with them just in a different capacity. And when I'd made this wild decision after seeing the careers counsellor, the careers coach, I just picked up the phone, old school, and just said, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I don't want a full-time job. And I think that kind of was probably the reason I got the job, to be honest, because a full-time headcount versus a contract headcount is very different.
Which is something we have touched on before, that a majority of the roles at AusGP are contract roles.
Yeah, because they have to bring in more people to deliver the event because it's so massive.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to get your foot in the door. And for me, I knew I had to be at AusGP to meet people from teams, people from FOM, and be able to network, because the role that I was in before...
Can you explain what FOM is, just in case people don't understand the word?
Formula One management. So I was like on a mission. Like there was no way that I was not going to meet people. So yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of networking, meeting people, make sure they remembered who I was, made it very clear that I was coming back over, like I was going to come over, were there any opportunities, and anyone that I knew that had a connection, I was like, can you please email, intro me to anyone? Like at one point, someone from Aston Martin actually said to me, oh my God, I've had 4 different people from 4 walks of life email me that I have to meet you. And I was like, well, I won't disappoint. But it is, you almost have to have, not no shame.
I was about to say shameless. Be shameless.
Yeah, like you've got to like push the ego aside, because you will get rejected and it's not going to happen straight away.
Yeah.
So you do have to keep going and
just hustle.
Yeah, and just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's the only way really. Like you're competing with so many people. So just, also be considered, I think, in when you contact people. Like I know, hence why we're doing this podcast, I get at least 15 messages on LinkedIn a week from people being like, hi Hayley, how do I get a job in F1? And I'm like, I'm not going to respond to that. Like I, again, went through people that I knew, so I wasn't just a random person. Or if I was coming in super cold on an email, I still gave my personality, showed who I was. But I wasn't going to email someone on a Friday going into a race meet knowing that they're on track. Like, one, rude. It means that you don't actually care or think about what that person is doing. It's also going to get lost in the It's
going to get lost, exactly. It's like they've got priorities.
You've just sent that to nowhere. Like, no one is reading that email. So, like, picking the timing of when you email, obviously being based here in Australia, I will always email at night time, knowing that that'll hit the inbox in the UK in the morning. So it's almost like the first time people open there, like, they are more likely to read it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being considered. I'll always, if I'm contacting a team, I'll obviously if they've had a good weekend, like, oh my God, great weekend, or like, make it personal that you are watching and you are engaged. So yeah, just being really mindful of what you're actually putting in that email, because you've got a split second to make
Impact.
Thank you. Sorry, lost for a word then.
Yeah.
Now, someone's asked, can they be your intern?
Do you know how many people ask that? No. Elle knows. You don't want to be my intern.
You'd have to have tough, thick
If you're not watching
skin
this,
for that.
I'm shaking my head profusely.
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 How do I say it?
Profusely.
Profusely.
Profusely. But do you know what? Elle has an amazing work ethic. So, yeah, you've got to have...
You've got to be able to juggle a lot of different things.
For sure.
Yeah. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
And would a digital marketing degree lead to a career in motorsports?
I mean, if that's what you want to do, sure. But I think you also... I mean, we've been banging on about this. If you're coming out of uni and you've done no experience, you have no portfolio, probably not. Because other people out there have gone out to their local tracks and gone and built their portfolio. They've done case studies. You know, like we get university students reach out for us at Principal all the time wanting to help out with stuff. And, you know, we're happy if we can make it work and it's beneficial for them. So...
I think on that as well, because we do get, like you said, we get people reaching out to principals saying, hey, can we help and do this? But if you're going to offer that as well, make an impression. It's annoying that, it might be more of like an internship and you might feel like, oh, this is just crap. But you never know who you're actually doing that for, just to help out and where that could lead you. It's always important to try and make an impression.
I actually was going to speak on this question. So Sam Wyatt, who we have met through the F1 world, he's young. He's like 16, 17.
He'll be 16 now, yeah.
And he is like a perfect example of someone that is literally going out there and hustling and trying to figure out what he wants to do. So he has an F1 podcast with his dad.
Yeah,
and
he wants to be
still at school. He
presenter.
he wants to be in F1.
He's going places, though.
Right?
Yeah.
He's going places. He wants to be in F1 media. And he also with like help through his parents, but he's like gone out there, found people within media, within the OzGP, slowly worked his way, showing that, hey, I can do this. I think this year, he was commentating FP2, I think. It was free practice.
No, that was last year. This year he did even more.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he
did free practice last year on the Friday.
Yeah.
And then, he did even more this
commentating,
year.
and he's 17.
Yeah.
So this is, and look, I highly doubt he's getting paid for it, but he's doing it.
I reckon he might be.
I mean, maybe this year he did get paid.
If he is, snaps for Sam.
Yeah.
So passion.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like,
You've got to have passion.
I struggle with this because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to work in F1. And I'm like, do you want to work in F1? Why?
Or do you just want to be around the drivers
right now? Or do you actually have a passion for motorsport or sport? And I think you can sort of almost tell instantly the people that just want to work in F1 because it's cool right now. But they're not going to get there because very quickly, if you don't have the passion and you're not willing to put in the work, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It'll be a one-time wonder type thing. You'll do it once and then no one will have you back.
Yeah. I think it's like with any industry. It's if you don't, with every job, there are going to be mundane tasks. You know, it's the same as like the fashion industry. People are like, I want to work in fashion. And then they realize what it is to work in fashion.
Yeah.
You know, that's not just pretty clothes. It's more to it. Like the same thing with F1. It's not just nice cars and attractive drivers. Like there's so much more to it.
Yeah. And I think also sport in general.
High vis.
I mean, I love the high vis, but sport in general doesn't pay that well for the most people involved in it.
It does if you're
even
on the
the
corporate
athletes.
side of things or you're the athlete yourself.
Yeah, and you're up the top. But most people aren't going to get there. Those jobs are very far and few between. So then people get sick of getting paid
peanuts.
And so again, if the passion's not there and you're not getting paid, you're not going to last very long.
Yeah.
So I get paid a lot less now than what I did when I was in that big corporate job. But I'm so much happier now than what I was.
Well, it's interesting when I think over a year ago, we spoke to Jack, who was a engineer at Aston Martin. He was at Aston Martin, wasn't he?
He was doing an aerodynamics.
No, he was
engineering grad course at Aston Martin.
And I remember he was saying he loved it. It was incredible. But he's like living in the UK on that entry-level salary and working your ass off. He said, I got to the point where I was exhausted and I couldn't do it anymore. And that's fine. And he said, I just got sick of not earning money.
Yeah. And I think for most of your podcast listeners are obviously based here in Australia. We do have very good employment standards and we do get paid quite well. It is a reality shock when you go to the UK and work. It is not the same. You don't get paid the same, even close, and very different conditions. So
something to keep in mind.
But you know, if you're 20, in your early 20s, coming out of uni and you're like, don't care, I want to do it, get your youth visa, get on a plane and go to the UK, because there are so many more opportunities in motorsport there than there are here. And if you really want it, and you, like we just said, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have all those other things that come in life, go now.
Yeah,
like, go
do it
young,
now. Do it now, you know, before you have...
Trust us.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
If you could, we've got to finish up, but if you could leave everyone with one word of advice. Just
one word.
One word. Just one word of what they have to think, be. One word.
I mean, I want to say hustle.
Literally, I was going to say hustle.
Yeah. That's the word. You can say that.
Hustle in every form.
Reach out to the people on LinkedIn. Do all the things.
And also one thing from me as well, support people on social media that are working in that space.
Oh, yeah.
Because they
never know.
100%.
If you're loud and you're constantly supporting, you never know what that leads to.
So true. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Hayley.
We
love
having
you.
me again.
Hopefully you've answered everyone's questions. I mean, we've learnt a lot and we even know you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sick of hearing you talk.
I already know your story. Anyway, I should probably go do what you've asked me to do. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any more questions, feel free to just comment them below and we'll get back to you.
She's not going anywhere, so we can ask
No,
her.
she's not. All right, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I know if I ever see the light, I'll be up in the club and